borders, pride and dignity, stop the New World Order, welcome to Hapanwo TV. Right, it's just a quickie today. I am actually capable of making videos less than 3 hours long, and this is going to be considerably less than 3 hours, don't worry. This is, well, what can I say? Mr. Stefan Multiplex has done it again. Yet again, he has said something which has compelled me to put photons onto celluloid. And guess what? It's UFOs again. He's brought up UFOs for a second time. Now, if you go to the link in the description box, as per Hapanwo TV tradition, you will see a link to a previous reply video I did to Stefan Molyneux over an entire program he did on UFOs. It was about an hour long. He was part of his call-in show. But I did actually do a reply there. This is is a second reply to Stefan Molyneux on the subject of UFOs. And I wasn't going to bother. When I first heard him say it, I thought, well, he's just going to repeat a lot of the things he said before, so I wouldn't bother. But he actually, it's only a short little bit, but he brings up some new points that he hasn't raised before. But he's equally incorrect, so I'm going to do a little reply to him, like I did before. So, let me. He'll commence. What it is? This is the program. What was it? Hang on. I have my SoundCloud page open and now it's shut. One moment. Oh bloody hell! Sorry, I'm unprepared again, aren't I? Oh, I'm not even going to edit that out. I'm going to be honest enough not to edit that out. Scroll down. Here we go. It's Free Domain Radio program 4189. Live stream Q&A with Stefan Molyneux, and this particular subject comes up at the I've just already got it on there, round about the 1 hour 50 second mark, and I'm just ahead of that now. I'm actually watching the YouTube version right now, simply because it provides more light on. I think it provides more light than it provides slightly more light on as a lighting effect than does the SoundCloud version. But anyway, we'll let him launch. What happens is, someone in chat actually asked him about UFOs. I didn't know he was doing this live stream, otherwise I'd have been in there asking him a few choice questions about UFOs and cancer cures and 9/11 and life after death and all the other subjects I've talked to him about, even my confession, and the dolphins. Don't forget the dolphins. That was my last one I did off to him. So, take it away, Stefan.
These flaws, that's why we need.
It's right, this is just the end of the last subject.
If human beings were perfect, we wouldn't need a state. But human beings are imperfect, therefore we can't have one. So.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. That's why he's an anarchist. Okay, here we go.
Do you believe UFOs are extraterrestrials or government spacecraft?
See, that's a question. He's asking, are UFOs extraterrestrial or government spacecraft? My own view on this, as I've explained before, is both. But let's see what Mr. Molyneux has to say about that. Has he learnt anything since he did the last program? Because I'll tell you what, I know he's watched it. He'll listen to what I say watch, it's YouTube. I know that Stefan Molyneux has watched my reply video. You know why? Because he's used a couple of mannerisms a couple of times, which are ones that I recognise as being sort of unique to myself, which indicates that he has actually watched my video and he's sort of adopted subconsciously a couple of little verbal tics that I'm familiar with, that sound like me. And so I'll let him carry on.
I believe that they're neither. I believe
that's what he said last time. He believes they're neither. They're not neither one nor the other. What are they then, Stefan?
That they are made up or hallucinated or fantasized about or faked or anything like that. I certainly have no doubt whatsoever that there's intelligent life.
All right. Okay, I'll go back a little bit. Hang on. Made up hallucination. Hang on.
So.
Okay,
do you believe UFOs are extraterrestrials or government spacecraft?
I've gone back to the beginning.
Somewhere.
No, he believes are made up hallucinations, frauds, etc., etc. And then he goes on to say somewhere in the universe there's other life. Well, of course, that's not true. I've explained why it's not true in my previous reply video to him, and about 300 other videos I've made. There's evidence to suggest that these things are not real. But anyway, he's going to now talk about life in the universe.
Else in the universe, but I don't believe that what we have as now, what we call UFOs, are real. I mean, I made this argument some years ago, very brief.
It was actually last year, Stefan. and it was last January, I believe. I think. Let's have a look. What was it? Oh, where was it? Okay. Oh, I can't remember. Oh, it's here somewhere. Well, there's a link in the description box. You can find it. But yeah, it was last January, I think. And he made an argument when he was debating with somebody, which I negated with my reply video, which Stefan Molyneux, I think, has seen.
Briefly, when I was a kid, people said they saw UFOs. There were these blurry photographs, and so.
Well, yeah, that's because of the equipment people had. I mean, he's 51 years old. The ability to have portable cameras with high quality images is quite recent, but he's going to make a point about that, which is very interesting.
I remember thinking even at the time, you know, what we really need is really high definition video and audio recording devices in the hands of just about everyone in the world, so we can finally get a glimpse of these UFOs, and we haven't. So.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. There are people who have filmed UFOs using modern equipment, modern recording, modern video, modern mobile phone cameras, things like that. Okay, so what you said people should have had, you know, portable, high definition video, so you can finally get proof we got it, and people have. The thing is, there's a factor that you've not taken into account, Stefan. Along with the technology to produce proper, high quality video footage and photographs in everybody's mobile phone, etc., also comes the technology to produce fabricated images, to produce manipulated images, Photoshop, etc., etc. There are even apps you can have on your mobile phone itself. You don't even need to take the thing home and diddle with it with Photoshop. You have an app on your mobile phone which will create fake UFO and fake ghost and fake Nessie, etc. photographs. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that there are people who have captured these kinds of images, but in a sense the signal is drowned out by the noise because of the availability of the ability to produce manipulated images. Manipulated images that would be indistinguishable from the real thing. A good skilled user of Photoshop can create a very realistic image that looks real and could be real and cannot be, through analysis of the image itself, debunked. This is the problem. This is the issue. This is why we have this terrible signal to noise ratio problem now in this image. In a sense, we have this is the ultimate little boy who cried wolf. So when you say, oh well, we haven't got proper UFOs, we haven't got proper UFO images, so we haven't. Well, the thing about it is, if you look at the subject still clearly, you'll see it's more and more difficult for people who do film UFOs to have their image, their footage, certified as the real thing. Because at some point, some clever clogs will put their hands up and says, yes, but you could have photoshopped that. You could have done. And unfortunately, there's no answer to that, because, yes, he could have done. And it's unfalsifiable, because in this day and age, with the sophisticated equipment you can get, you could walk down a high street in Nairobi and pick up a software suite that can produce realistic images for an affordable price. And there's no way that you can ever, if you're accused of that, there's no way you can prove yourself innocent. That's what I'm saying. It's that bad. And I'll let him carry on.
Sorry, everyone has high-def recording devices, and there are no UFOs.
Yes, there are.
There are space aliens out there somewhere, and if they are really, really advanced, we don't even know that they're here. But
well, yeah, they are. There are space aliens out there somewhere. Yeah. Now he's talking about actual life out there in the universe. That we are not alone. We're not the only planet with intelligent life on it. Okay. That is somewhat. It's a corollary issue to the UFO phenomenon, but it is not separate. And if you watch my video, SETI and UFOs, and let me remind you to put that. Do I have to put a link in the description box for that? You can find it. SETI and UFOs. It's on my channel. It's only a few months ago. What I'm saying here is that the two are linked. The two are they're parallel issues of the same question, whether we're alone out there. What the SETI proponents, people like Carl Sagan, etc., say is, yes, The universe is out there. There's universe full of life. They're out there everywhere, but they haven't got here yet. We have to speak to them with radio transmissions that take 50,000 years for them to answer. That's the only way we can communicate with aliens, because they're so far away. But as I say, it's a bit of it's a totally contradictory and very paradoxical position, because and I suspect that Carl Sagan probably knows more than he's letting on, as Bryce Zabel has openly said, has openly suggested. You know, in my SETI UFOs talk, you'll see this contradiction played out, that the SETI people are very against UFOs. Carl Sagan, throughout his entire life, never changed his position on UFOs. He said effectively the same thing throughout his entire public scientific career. You know, and basically just repeating what Stefan just said there. Oh, they're just hoaxes, they're just hallucinations, they're just loonies, they're UFO flying saucer cultists, he said at one point. So this is a rather strange situation, because in the same program where he talks about UFOs, which is Cosmos, it's his Cosmos series, where that's where he does his most talking about UFOs, he suggests that extraterrestrial intelligence out there may well be far more scientifically and technically advanced than we are. He says from thousands to millions of years. Well, in that case, wouldn't they have developed the means to get here? And it's what makes it even more strange is that we're on the point of doing it ourselves. I mean, we've launched rockets into space. Even if we haven't put people on the moon, we do, you know, leaving aside the secret space program, we have definitely put people into space. We put people into orbit. You know, the Earth is not flat, all right, guys. The International Space Station is real. It's been done. And what's really strange about this is that, as I explain, I show an image. I go into this in detail in my SETI and UFOs talk. But the British Interplanetary Society, based in London, actually designed in the 1950s. It designed something called Project Daedalus, which is a starship. It is a craft, a spacecraft that could reach the nearest star. It could go 15% of the speed of light, and it could reach the nearest star. It uses using existing technology, known systems of propulsion and power. It could have been built. It could be built now, which means it could have been built back then. Even it means if they built Project Daedalus when it was first designed, when they'd invested that money in spending Project Daedalus, it means that 50 years later, that is in the early 21st century, there could be people walking on the planets around Alpha Centauri. Now that, interestingly, is just a century, just 1 century after the first heavily on air aircraft took flight, a Kitty Hawk, the Wright brothers aircraft. And so if that's what we've done in 1 century, just think what is possible within 10 centuries or 20 or 100 or 1,000. What I'm saying is, SETI has this contradiction involved, and please watch the video for more details. I will put a link in the description box. Hang on, where is it? I'm going to make a note or I'll forget. Hang on. Right, hang on. I'm just making a note to myself, ladies and gentlemen. Play amongst yourselves for a second. Okay. Right, where was I? Okay, so it's a rather strange position SETI have. They admit the universe is full of life. There's lots of intelligent civilizations, between 80 and 80,000 by their calculation. They may very well be far more technically advanced than we are. We ourselves, after just less than a century of research, just 50 years of research actually, managed to design a craft that could go out there and reach them. Yet when evidence emerges that they have already got to us first, it has to be dismissed. It has to be ridiculed. It has to be forgotten and actually ignored. It's just hoax. It's just hallucination. It's swamp gas. It is weather balloons. Do you see how how oxymoronic and how moronic that is? But Stefan doesn't. Let him carry on.
But the flying saucer stuff, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that stuff is occurring at all. I mean, if they're really smart, why are we seeing them? Right.
Because they want us to see them. Look, I don't know, Stefan. You know, this is something I discussed in the first video, because he was going on about how, well, the UFOs must be anarcho-capitalist to do what they do. And I said, look, you can't anthropomorphize these creatures. We're dealing with an alien intelligence. I mean, again, my dolphins video to him, I explain how it's incredibly difficult even to talk to other species on our own planet, to communicate with other animals. You can't put yourselves in their shoes, even if they even have 2 feet. You can't do it, Stefan. You're speculating wildly.
Right, because they'd be smart enough to hide themselves.
Well, they do sometimes hide themselves, and they can. But they don't always, because I think, for whatever reason, they show themselves to us.
And if they're not smart, they wouldn't be smart enough to travel interstellar differences and distances. And of course, given the speed of light is unbeatable, at least according to current physics, and I'm not sure.
Well, even if it was, I mean, that's not certain. I mean, there's several people who talked about variable speeds of light, including João Maguejo, who's a physicist who talked about this, and he talked about Einstein's biggest blunder. It's a very good documentary called Einstein's Biggest Blunder. But even if the speed of light is unbreakable, you can still get around quite quickly. And don't forget, you could get to other stars. It would take probably hundreds of thousands of years. But for you on board the ship, time would run slower. That's another thing Einstein said. So for you, it might only be a couple of months. And Carl Sagan said if you get up to 99% of the speed of light, you could navigate the whole known universe, and for you, it would just feel like a couple of weeks. Of course, you'd be leaving behind everything permanently. You couldn't, if you went back, you'd find probably the ants had taken over, as they say on Red Dwarf. But it's just an example that's how Einstein's physics can work in favour as well as against.
Well, that's going to change. Then how could they even travel these kinds of distances? I mean, it's 4.3 light years just to the closest star. And
well, Project Daedalus, it uses a propulsion system which is designed, it's known. It actually uses nuclear explosions, nuclear fission explosions. It is known technology.
The odds of that star having... The other thing, too, you think of the billions and billions of years, what is it, 14 billion years, the age of the universe? The idea that we're going to have other creatures, in Star Trek, everyone's got kind of the same level of development, everyone's got, like, warp drives and impulse power and photon torpedoes or something. Everyone's kind of real similar in their states.
Well, not always. I mean, especially in the original series, they would sometimes arrive on planets where they're creatures of lower technology. This is where the Prime Directive comes from, because he's actually going to bring up an important point here.
The development, but that's not how it'll be in the universe. Given 14 billion years, I mean, even if it's just 1,000 years, either way, I mean, there's not going to be much to talk about. Even on Earth, civilizations that met each other were vastly different in terms of development. Just look at Europe hitting Africa and so on. So,
yeah, well, that's true. We may well be in a situation where there could be problems with meeting other creatures. Indeed, these problems are already showing themselves in UFO encounters. For example, it's pretty obvious that UFOs that are hostile, we couldn't really do anything to defend ourselves from. Our weapon systems are completely inadequate. That's an important point. But then it doesn't leave aside the fact that if you have a code of ethics like the Prime Directive, which means you never interfere, it could work. It could work. You could have this kind of situation. So I mean, Stefan is making assumptions about what is possible and impossible in terms of organisation as well as actually technology. So again, he's doubly mistaken.
All right. Any other last easy questions?
Okay, that's the end. Any other last easy questions? God. You see, it's sad, because well, it's not sad really. In fact, I'm grateful to Stefan for bringing these things up. I think he's a good guy for just talking about this sort of thing, because it gives me something to get my teeth into, but also it gets me thinking, it gets other people thinking. So thank you, Stefan, for that. But again, he's you see, he can be incredibly perceptive about some subjects, Stefan Molyneux. He's really... I watch him regularly because he more than almost any other YouTuber, he actually gets me thinking about things, very, very important things. And it's to do with politics and to do with society and to do with families and bringing up children and things like that and relationships. Very, very helpful what he's done. Very helpful. I've got his book up there. It's The Art of the Argument. I've got a copy of his book on my shelf. And I haven't read it yet, but I think I'll probably buy it for a family member for Christmas. It's really, really good. Well, it looks good. I've had a quick look through it and I've listened to his descriptions of it. It sounds good, but obviously I've got to read it first. But so sometimes he's an intelligent man. He's clearly very intelligent. He's very perceptive. He's very eloquent. He can describe himself and he can express himself very well because he's trained in drama. And like I said, he can really hit the nail on the head with some subjects. When it comes to some other subjects, like the ones I've done with him in my reply videos, that is the 9/11, the life after death, this one, and everything else, he just spouts the same rubbish, the same drivel you hear from the likes of Professor Brian Cox and people who aren't, who aren't fit to lick his shoes. It is frustrating, and as well as the fact it gives me an excuse to make a video. It's still frustrating that he does that, and I do hope that he will maybe watch this video as well as I'm almost certain he's watched the last one, and make him reconsider and look at some of the evidence for UFOs, the enormous gamut of study that's been done over a huge amount of time, over a large amount of time, now getting on for 70 years now, that people have been dedicating their lives to providing evidence for this. And the UFO Truth Magazine conference I've just been to was incredible. I'm actually in the middle of producing a video about that now, which is going to be really quite something. It's not just going to be a reportage for the conference. It's going to be a lot more. But that could take a few days, so don't worry if it doesn't appear straight away. This is just sort of an interim video on the UFO subject, and as I said, it's not been very long. So thank you all for watching. And I'll be back very soon with another video. Don't forget to check out Panwo Radio, a Panwo Voice. Pick up Roswell Rising and Roswell Revealed at your bookshops. And I shall see you again soon. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.